I'm 41 this year. I used to work in Guangzhou and have done all kinds of jobs, like being a salesperson and a training teacher. My dream job is to become an education reformer in China. Although China has made a lot of progress, there are still many problems, and I think education reform is the starting point. However, my education level isn't high. Even if I became a teacher, it would be very unlikely that I could teach in the way I hope to. I tried for years, but the biggest issue is that education in China is controlled by the government. It's very difficult for individuals or private investors to enter the education field and pursue their own ideas. If I have to strictly follow the government's way, then I'd rather not be a teacher at all. So I went back to the countryside, to my hometown of Longsheng in Guilin, a rural area in China known for its rice terraces. But suddenly, coming from the city back to the countryside, I didn't know what kind of work to do at first, so I would occasionally sell things. Over time, I started selling more agricultural products, but not online. Instead, I would drive around villages with a loudspeaker calling out to people. That was enough to make a living. Later on, because many elderly villagers knew me and wanted to go out and see the world, and since I had a car, I started driving them around. As word got around, more and more people asked me to take them on trips, so I bought a new car, which is the electric car I drive now. Life is okay for now, but deep down I still hope to do something meaningful. I feel a little regret that my educational ideals haven't been realized. Right now, I'd like to find a place because I like reading, a place where I can meet others who like reading and start a book club. Of course, in the Chinese countryside, most people, especially the older generation, aren't interested in reading. Since I started school, I haven't spent many years living at home. It was only in the past few years that I finally came back. I've worked in many cities across China, but I found life and work in the cities rather dull. If you buy a house, you can end up with a huge amount of debt, and you may spend the rest of your life paying off your mortgage. I don't think it's worth it. Life is about more than just owning a house, especially when I already have a home in the countryside. But in China, if you want to get married, you are often expected to oil a house in the city. That's what most women require. I sometimes think that China has been poor for too long, so many people dream of living in the city. They see urban life as a symbol of wealth and a better life. But to achieve that, people may have to spend decades of their savings just to buy a house of a little over 100 square meters. To me, it feels like we've lost the meaning of life somewhere along the way. And because I wanted to work in education and introduce innovative ideas in China, it was extremely difficult. I spent many years trying different things. I also studied and experimented with many educational methods from Western countries, and I really liked them. But I found that they were difficult to integrate with Chinese culture and the Chinese education system. Very few people were willing to pay for this kind of education. What I really wanted to do was to take the IB curriculum and educational philosophy used by international schools, simplify it, and adapt it for ordinary schools. But this is very different from the way schools in China's public education system operate. Every year I had to spend money, and I also faced interference from the government. In the end, it simply wasn't possible to realize what I wanted to do. I spent a lot of time on it, but I didn't make much money. Now that I'm in my 40s, I don't want to think about it too much anymore. I just want to live for myself. In the past, I was always serving other people, the students and their parents. Sometimes I felt that it wasn't worth it. Society didn't really recognize or respect this kind of work, and I didn't feel that my efforts were appreciated. Fortunately, the elderly people I help now are very polite, and they really appreciate the fact that I can take them out and let them see the world. I sell agricultural products, and I also take elderly people on trips. The work is flexible, and I have a lot of freedom. The natural environment in the countryside is beautiful, and I don't have the same kind of survival anxiety that you feel in a city. I like being alone at home, thinking, reading, and learning. I don't drink or smoke, so I don't take part in most of the social activities around here. But that also makes me seem like a bit of an odd person. I would really like to find some like-minded friends, but that's almost impossible in the countryside. Most people who share my interests live in big cities or they are scattered all over the country. As for finding a girlfriend, I probably won't have much luck either. From the perspective of happiness, my life is actually okay right now, but sometimes I do feel lonely. Sometimes I feel that there isn't much hope for this society. I would also like to repeat abroad, but my financial situation isn't very good, so I don't have enough money to do that. And I still have my mother, who will need someone to take care of her when she gets older. I often watch Douyin, the whole Chinese version of TikTok. There are a lot of interesting things on it, although there is also an enormous amount of low-quality content. I also hope that I can find some good friends through the internet. I learned how to use VPNs quite early, so I've often been able to hear real voices from other countries and see how people in other parts of the world think and live. In China, it's difficult for ordinary people to access the international internet freely. So many people end up living in a relatively closed information environment.